Conflict described by Amnesty International as the forgotten war.
Too often lost in the shuffle of big stories, the war in Yemen has devolved into a full-fledged humanitarian crisis.
More than 10,000 people have been killed since 2015, and over 3 million have been displaced.
Malnutrition and disease are killing more than 100 children every day in Yemen.
The scenes of starving children is so unsettling, the natural inclination is to look away. But the New York Times opted not to, confronting its readers head-on, publishing this photo on the front page.
Mal Hussein's mother says her daughter starved to death at a refugee camp just 4 miles from a hospital.
Along with their reporting, the paper took the unusual step of publishing an editorial justifying the use of the image. So what kind of conversation was had in the newsroom over that decision? Michael Slackman is the international editor of the New York Times. He joins us from New York.
Michael, as you and I both know, these conversations take place in newsrooms often, whether it's a still photo at a newspaper or video in a newsroom, a television newsroom. There are many occasions in which we decide not to run pictures that show someone who is dead or dying, in part because we're trying to protect both them and the audience. What was the conversation around showing these photos?
Yeah, give me a second. I still find thinking about this photo kind of upsetting. This is a 7-year-old girl who's completely emaciated. I guess you showed the photo. And she's dying not because there's no food. She's dying because of political decisions made by powerful people that have put basically an embargo on that country. And so while store shelves across the street from the hospital, the refugee camp where she actually died, are packed, her family can't afford to eat. You know, it's our job as correspondents and journalists to go around the world to bear witness, to give voice to those who would not otherwise have a voice, and to inform the public so they can make smart decisions about directions they think their leaders should take. And I think in this case, the photograph was tasteful, if difficult to look at, and important for people to see.
Did you worry about people's reaction to it? Because you're right, as we look at it, it literally takes your breath away to see this girl.
Yeah, it takes my breath away when I think of the headline that Amal has died. Yeah, sure, I was a little bit concerned how the community would react, the public would react. That's why I went and I spoke to our reader representative, and in advance she suggested that we write something explaining our decision. I ran the photograph and our decision by our standards editor, who's always thinking about kind of readers first. And, you know, the decision that we made was, again, about informing the public in a very personal way. You know, we've been reporting for a long time about mass starvation, about the worst humanitarian crisis in the world. And I think for a lot of people, they have to shut that down. They can't quite process it. Personalizing things, bringing it home with the tragedy that became of Amal's young and too short life, I think was very important.
And what reaction did you get?
Yeah, I was going to say, the surprise to me was we received very little, almost no negative blowback on this. It was overwhelmingly one of compassion and horror. I tweeted out when she died. I'm not a big social media presence. That tweet triggered a viral alert on something called Data Miner, and was retweeted 17,000 times. I received almost 2,000 personal messages of sorrow and condolence for this happening. I think overwhelmingly, we did two things. We gave some purpose, though horrible as it was, to this young girl's short life. And we did succeed in raising public awareness about a war that has been going on for a long time, under the radar, as Amnesty said, hidden from world view.
Powerful photos and the conversation to go with it. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you very much.